Stephanie Antoine.
Hello. I'm really happy to see you again this year for this third edition. Bonjour à tous et je suis ravie.
Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be with you for this third edition of New York Forum Africa. And I'm with Mr. HERSOV.
South Africa, but he actually lives in London and he creates a club which is called Invest Africa, a club, a networking organization of people who are actually interested in taking risks in Africa. Hello, welcome.
Stephanie, thank you.
Tell me, who do you allow in your club?
We focus mainly on investors. What Africa really wants is intelligent capital and to deploy it with smart human capital in great opportunities. That's what Africa wants, that's what we need, and that's what we hope to bring to Africa.
Do you think some people here could actually be part of the club?
There are many members of the club here.
Maybe you have candidates here.
There are many members.
Yeah, you think? You can. Are French speakers allowed?
French speakers are welcomed, very welcomed.
Donc ceux qui parlent français sont également admis au club de Rob HERSOV. You said, Rob, that Africa is investment opportunity in a lifetime. So what's your assessment as an investor?
The UN came out with a report 3 years ago that said the return on foreign direct investment was higher in Africa than anywhere else in the world. Africa is rising. We've heard the story. Everyone's spoken so beautifully over the past few days. What I don't want my investors to do is look back in 10 years' time and say, we missed the best opportunity in the world. And it's my job to make sure they invest here and not Brazil, Russia, India, China. I want them investing in Africa.
So you want to make profit in Africa. You want them to make profit in Africa.
Correct. Profit is healthy.
Profit is healthy. What do you want to do for Africans?
Well, in investing in Africa, in various areas, infrastructure, energy, consumer goods, the money deployed creates opportunity. We hire people, we educate people, we give people growth opportunities, and that in itself is a social investment.
But SMEs in Africa actually are the ones who create jobs. African Development Bank estimates that the credit gap for SMEs in Africa is between $72 and $88 billion. How can you help SMEs financing?
You know, there are many funds within Africa and outside of Africa that are focusing on the SMEs. If an SME has good management, good business plan, and a scalable opportunity, it will attract capital.
Which sector are you more interested in?
My real interest is consumer-focused. So it can be food, logistics, real estate, finance, telecom, but I'm also interested in the energy sector.
Energy sector and aviation, because you have some experience in aviation.
And aviation.
Transportation is key in Africa. There's a lack of infrastructure. How could you convince some African governments to work with you, maybe hand in hand, and develop the aviation sector?
Look at the telecom revolution. Governments allocated licenses and allowed the private sector to come in, and now 55% of African adults have a smartphone. That's how government should operate. Open the industry, give us the license to operate, and get out of the way. Governments should not be running airlines. I've said this before in Brazzaville at Richard's excellent infrastructure conference. If a government owns an airline, it will fail. Now,
Emirates,
other than Ethiopian Airlines,
success story.
But in Ethiopian Airlines, the government stays out of the way. They have professional management, and they allow capital to be deployed efficiently for profit. Profit is healthy.
How do you explain the success of Emirates, for example, a state-owned company?
Again, Emirates stays out of the way. They hire professional management, and they allow management to run a profitable business. Unlike South African Airways, Kenya Airways, and all the other badly run and unprofitable airlines in Africa that are used as employment agencies and tourism marketing agencies. That's not what an airline's for. An airline's to allow passengers to travel from A to B in safety, comfort, at the best price possible. Governments, please, get out of the aviation sector.
How did they react with that, with your approach?
Well, governments don't know how to manage businesses. all of us really know it. Not all of us admit it. So when I tell governments it, they think I'm crazy, but it's the truth.
You're a real free market believer. Huh?
That's the only way. Socialism doesn't work. We know that.
Right, but what's the lesson you could take actually from the huge crisis that you don't want to import into Africa, which actually doesn't come from Africa?
For aviation?
For aviation, for anything.
Look,
as a free market believer.
Yeah, I would love to have the ability to invest in aviation in Africa. I will invest. But there are too many barriers, and the barriers are created by governments that create high insurance rates, crazy visa requirements, overfly, all sorts of costs that are unnecessary and make it very difficult. And I just say, what do passengers want? They want to fly direct from Libreville to Dakar, from Libreville to Kinshasa. They don't want to have to go via Nairobi or via Johannesburg.
Which country do you actually aim at more specifically?
For aviation?
For aviation in Africa.
Look, I think regionally is the way to start. I do believe Ethiopian Airlines has shown us the way, and I do believe there needs to be a West African airline, but it should not be run or owned by government.
You also are interested in the solar industry. You were talking about energy. What is key there, and how do you think you could invest in solar energy in Africa?
Look, you need to compare solar with diesel. That's the ultimate comparison. But I think solar's real opportunity is off-grid, the ability to provide energy for towns and villages that are not connected to the grids in Africa. And I think that really will make a difference.
We're running out of time. I see we have 1 minute and 30 minutes left. You have actually 5 predictions for Africa.
Yeah.
Rob, as an investor, you have predictions, so which are they?
Well, I have 4 predictions and 1 recommendation. So my prediction number 1 is that Zimbabwe will be bankrupt in 6 to 12 months. I think as a country it's finished. It's lost its moral compass, its economic policies are crazy, and they've run out of any excuses. So Zimbabwe, goodbye. Financially, kaput. I think Angola, maybe in the next 5 years, will overtake Nigeria as Africa's #1 oil economy. I think the ANC will split in half in the next 4 years. I think Zuma is not the right leader for many reasons for South Africa, and that my country I'm very disappointed in. I'm not in favor of investing in South Africa right now. I'm sorry to say that. I think much better opportunities north of the border, here in Gabon and elsewhere in Africa. In terms of, and I'll keep my last prediction to last, in terms of a recommendation, selling Africa as a single continent is too difficult. It's just too difficult. There are 54 countries, and it's too hard. So why don't we follow with the 4 or 5 regions, the natural regions that have been created in Africa? Francophone, North Africa, East Africa, maybe South Africa's independent, and then Lusophone Africa, and let's start marketing those regions under their names as separate entities. No one tries to sell Asia as a continent. It's impossible. So why are we trying to do it with Africa? And my final prediction, Cameroon to win the World Cup. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe we can do 1 or 2 questions from the audience. Yeah? Who wants to ask a question to Rob?
Richard, I think everyone's hungry. Me too. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. No? No questions? Oh, we don't have time. Too bad. Thanks a lot. That was short. Oh my God.
I am Africa.